Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. It's Monday, so I have Grumpy going over here. And speaking of Grumpy, with us this morning, who woke up early, a rare occasion, we have the Polish Prince. Matush, what's happening?
Rare occasion. I'm here most Mondays. That's unfair.
Most, if not all Mondays, yes. And as always, the clear drink friend with the cans in the background. Trevor's here as well. Trevor, what's
I,
up?
I went with tea today. I got tea.
No freaking way. No
Boom.
freaking way. Look at that. What do we have there, Matush? You have coffee or tea? You better have something.
I have
Or
sparkling
milk.
water.
Oh. Well,
I have to do something
or
different every Monday. Whether it's chocolate milk last time, sparkling water this time. I have to think about what to do next week.
Sparkling water in the morning. I don't know
Stay
how you guys
tuned.
do it. Stay tuned. Yeah. It's
What will Matush drink next week?
drives the ratings for the Monday shows as well.
Start a
It's
poll.
more like, will Matush wake up is what drives the morning show, and then once he shows up, what will he be drinking? Okay, a lot to get to, a lot of weird stuff as well, a lot of headlines. Let's start with the fresh one this morning, and then a lot has happened for games, so I figure we kind of go group by group afterwards for the World Cup as we recover, since we have not been on air since Wednesday. But first news first, Onana leaves Trevor the camp before the game with Cameroon. Apparently, disagreement with the coach. It's sounding like he was told to get the ball the heck out of there and clear it. And he was not agreeing with that one. Alan is with us as always every morning. Good morning, Alan. What do you make of its vintage team drama? There's always one or two national teams every World Cup that this kind of stuff happens with.
Yeah, there's always that one story where you're just going, is this the right time for this? To just kind of have this line in the sand, stamp your foot. You're at a World Cup. Continental tournaments, you couldn't put your foot down there. I don't know. And it's one of those things where it didn't seem to affect Cameroon that much. To actually may have spurred them on a bit more. You're like, okay, we got somebody that doesn't believe in this philosophy. Let's go show them what it's all about.
I mean, that's a good point. Like, why does it come on now? Is it because the pressure is a lot more intense now, Mateusz? So, like, these things that maybe he said it in practice before, and they're like, whatever, man. But then now the pressure is so much. Sometimes when you, even in real, like, regular daily life, like, you let some things go, but there are some times where, you know what, man, not freaking today. I'm not taking this on you, blow up. Is it a matter of that? Like, the stakes really rising with the World Cup?
I don't know. Maybe it's just a clash of both of those egos, because you would think that something like the World Cup would be the best time to put aside any of those feelings. Like, I understand that it's not the way that he's used to playing, and that's why he didn't want to do it. But if you're a World Cup caliber goalkeeper, you are able to change the way that you play. I mean, maybe just for a couple, you're not going to be amazing at this new system all of a sudden, but for him, it was just a matter of just playing it out of the back more instead of just booting the ball. And I feel like that's something that's doable for someone who plays at that level. So I think it was just more so a clash of both personalities and egos, and maybe Onana is just perhaps possibly a little childish. I don't know. It's hard because we're kind of commenting on what we have seen so far and not the full story. We'll never ever know the full story, and anything that ever goes on, you'll never get 100% full story. So I think it's just a matter of just it just seems silly altogether.
It does. You would think in a moment like this, everybody talks about like the team, pride of representing the country and stuff, you'll be able to put shit like this aside. Because I agree. I mean, if you're a goalie and if you're a world-class goalie, you should be able to say, you know what, that's what you want? Okay. I mean, I can boot it clear. I mean, it's easier to boot it clear. I mean, it would be a different case where he was told, don't clear it, we got to play from the back, and you don't feel comfortable with it or something like that. But it's the opposite. They're like, okay, you want to clear it? I'm assuming, which I've been in that boat as a defender in the past, where you're told to clear it. You know what? You guys are not getting it up there, so we got to build it and keep the ball a little bit. Otherwise, it's coming right back at me, kind of a deal. And I know that's probably was the conversation, but I thought it was like one of the weirder stories of the morning. Here's another weird story. And I don't know, as two Americans on the show over here, let's have you guys weigh in on this. The U.S. scrubbed the Iran flag emblem to kind of like, I don't know, by error, by not really error. It's a copy and paste. Oh, I used the wrong clip arts. I don't know what it is, but Matush, let's start with you on this one. What do you make of that as an American, or even as somebody objectively looking at this?
Another interesting, weird thing to look at. I feel like the same FIFA clause that Iran's referring to that says clubs can be dismissed for discrimination on sexual orientation are issues that Iran has. So it's weird that that would be brought up, but then not. Then they don't look introspectively on what's going on with their country and their club, or I mean their team, not their club. So it's just it's very ironic that this would be the most I can't find the word for it right now. The most damaging thing that's been happening to Iran. You know, as a football federation, they find that this is the thing that breaks them, not all of the other stuff that teams were going to do. You know what? Just
He's like, I'll pass. Okay, so let me play the devil's advocate over here as like an outsider. While I understand and I, support what's going on in Iran in terms of like, the protests and why they're there and stuff like that. Trevor, playing the devil's advocate, if the same thing happens in a similar format, and let's say while there were protests over here for like racial issues, which are clearly still ongoing, and it's like kind of like a constantly improving thing. What if Iran put the Confederate flag or something like that while that kind of crap was going on, let's say on their sites? Would Americans just be as offended and say, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think there's in that instance of trying to like build a false equivalency of things where it's okay, I understand what that means for the state as it is and the symbology of it and everything. But I think at this point it's something where they're trying to make a bit of a mountain out of molehill, where it could have just been somebody, like you said, an intern on social media that went in and found the wrong flag on clip art and put the whole thing together and screwed up on that part. And it wasn't even meant to be like a social message. It was just a brief moment of idiocy that got ripped down fairly quickly, it seems. And yeah, and this goes back to the whole thing what Matush was saying about the Onana thing. We don't have the whole story around everything. We don't know if it was something where somebody was trying to make a message and they needed to take credit for it or anything like that. And then there's something where you just gotta have that transparency. Go, yeah, this is something that was just a mess up. We apologize. Be done with it. Don't go trying to like get us expelled for
that was kind of like a reach, wasn't it?
or something like that. There's just so much stuff that
I think
you don't want to make it about a whataboutism of like, well, look what you guys are doing. Well, look what all your friends are doing. Oh, look, yeah, but then that gets back into the same. It becomes a fucking pissing contest for no reason. Like, well, think of all the bad things you've done to the flag.
Yeah,
who fucking cares? Just you put your hand up and go, my bad. And that may not work for them. That may not work for them, but for FIFA, for all the
Yeah.
The stuff they're doing, just admit fault and be done with it.
And I don't know if it was intentional. We don't know if it was intentional. If it's intentional, it's really stupid and petty to be able to try to use that as, first of all, on the state side. And then I don't even think it is intentional. And like I say, if it's intentional, it's dumb. And on the other side, yeah. But the fact that US didn't really come out and say, oh, our bad, we made a mistake kind of a thing as strongly, it almost makes it look intentional. And like I say, it's really petty, but I can see why. Obviously, they're going to use, I don't know if it's almost like a locker room thing to, like use it to boost the team, but the team itself is protesting against like the whole thing either. So it's not like, it's like helping the team. I thought it was just like a really weird story where I just can't see, I can see both sides, and I wish we didn't like talk about, like stupid stuff like this during the World Cup, but it was like a major story. And let's face it, when it comes to US soccer, it's better than the is it soccer or football conversation. Mateusz, I did not know Americans had a really sore spot for what the game was called, or like they're just trying to make it like, I don't know, is it supposed to be funny? Because I'm not even getting the humor. The only reason I use soccer usually is to differentiate it. Otherwise, I really could not care less what the fuck it's called. I think we all know which sport we're talking about. Usually, unless we're saying, if I say football, and I'll maybe like specify it and say like European football, not American football or whatever. But like, who the hell cares? Are you amazed that it's such a big like it's called soccer and stuff like that? It's almost embarrassing for and like a neutral fan in the States for me, because you're trying to push this game up and get it more popular, and like being like a temper tantrum. It's like, it's soccer, it's not football. It just seems asinine.
It's incredibly cringy, especially those chants that go around. It's called soccer chants that Chad Ochocinco started in a way with all of his other super fans. Chad Ochocinco, the #1 fan in the World Cup, and his soccer. So yeah, and to your point, when you're trying to be excited to have this game grow in this country, that kind of stuff makes me want it to die. I don't want it to grow if that's how we're going to treat it, because it doesn't deserve it. So it's cringy, it's annoying. I think it's just another one of those things where Americans feel like they need that needs to be theirs along with everything else in the world. So if they can do that, then then that works. That is just the next piece of the pie of the world, the next piece of the world pie that they own, so to speak.
How about you, Trevor? Is it soccer or is it football?
Yeah, every time that David Beckham, Peyton Manning commercial comes on, I want to suplex my fucking television through the closest window, and it's one of those things where you see it online too. It's the same discourse of, and the people that come to the defense of the sport, sometimes I just go, that's not your grenade to fall on, my dude. People are like, it's a 0-0 game. But if you take out the arbitrary scoring, the football game from last night was only 3-2. It wasn't 21-14, because you make all these answers. And you're like, oh, fuck, that's not a good argument either. That's stupid. Shut up. And then the soccer one, like, I think it's just people trying to get that old trigger off, where you're just going, yeah, I called it football. What are you going to do about it? I called it soccer. What are you going to do about it? Nothing, because I don't care. You're talking about the same thing. If you call a car an automobile, who the fuck cares? It doesn't matter. You're talking about the same thing, and you're not. It's interchangeable to me. I call it both in the course of the same game. Oh, I'm sorry, the same match, because I've been told that I can't call it a game either. It has to be called a match. And those type of gatekeeping pricks and the people that enjoy the David Beckham, Peyton Manning commercial need to get hit by the TV as I'm throwing it. And hopefully it puts their brains in a proper position to, be functioning members of society.
You know, when I first saw it, I thought it was funny because I find Peyton Manning funny in anything he does for some reason. But then as I realized, I'm like, oh shit, this thing is for real. Like, I thought it was just for like banter and like a laugh.
And
But
it
I'm
goes
like,
for 2 fucking minutes.
yeah. And then I see all this other stuff online about like, oh, it's called soccer and like those chants and stuff like that. It is so cringe. And like I say, it's just kind of like,
Well,
even as
yeah.
somebody who kind of
And I'm
is
glad,
rooting for USA so that the game improves. And I'm like, but then I understand what you're saying with the gatekeeper people too. So it's like, oh man, just like, can we just get over this and do what we do back home and just beat people up on the head with corner sticks when they get out of line? That's the kind of like. So if you have not seen the videos, it's floating around online. And this is a second division game in Turkey. And it's just like ridiculous. But a fan runs onto the field while the game is stopped, mind you. And I actually like I just saw the video initially, and the goalie is talking to it's in Izmir. It's a derby game in Izmir. Altay is playing Göztepe, and they actually both were in the top division last year. They both got relegated, and so it's their big like derby game in Izmir. And like the goalie was talking to Göztepe players, so I actually thought he was from the same team because they're just standing there talking, and this fan runs in, grabs the corner flag on his way in, and smacks him like full speeds on the head with it.
breaks the flag on him. Yeah.
Mind you, the game is stopped. There's like an ambulance because I was like, why the hell is the ambulance there? The guy, like, is the ambulance there foreshadowing that the guy's gonna get hit on the head or what? But the game is stopped and there's an ambulance on the field because one side, like, I think it's the Altay fans throwing like flares to the opposing fans. So there were people like injured and stuff like that. But it's like that's the kind of stuff you see, especially when it comes to Turkey, and you're like, why are we such animals when we follow this game? Is just I find it kind of like mind-boggling. And you see that stuff. I don't even know how the guy ran from one corner of the field literally towards the other one. I think people just were in shock, but you would think as security, you can't afford to be in shock. You're supposed to be, alert and prevent these things from happening. The dude literally like sprinted all the way and then just smacked him on the head with it. And actually, I think he gets like another hit afterwards too before he gets stopped. It's like ridiculous. Same thing as Alan is pointing out. Once Belgium lost, which that's another fiasco. So we'll like basically get to those next. Cars are in terms of rival, like, riots and stuff like that. I just don't understand how sometimes people just totally lose sight of what is really happening. I mean, like overturning cars are like Belgian players saying like we should really start playing better because I don't want my car overturned. So my car, I was parked there last night. I don't understand what is expected when somebody does something like that. But so let's take a look at that. Let me throw these standings up here on the screen. We'll go really quick group by group. Otherwise, we'll probably be here like 3 hours trying to catch up on the week. So let's start with Group A. Trevor, we'll start with you. Ecuador doing a lot better than everybody thought. They are playing Senegal as the last game, so they seem to have an edge up. Qatar, shockingly, is eliminated, so that poor performance continued afterwards. And what do you make of it? Netherlands and Ecuador going through?
Yeah, I that's what I predicted going in. Senegal, I think, is going to have a good game against Ecuador. I just think the Ecuadorians know that they just have to set up shop, and I would not recommend watching that one because it's probably going to be pretty rough. I don't think there's going to be a lot of offensive endeavor from Ecuador.
Yeah, usually in these group stages, like the first games are cagey, the second games are the best ones, and the third ones really depends. Unless both sides have to win, you can get some really cringy defending, time wasting, starting from like the 30th second and stuff. Same for you, Mateusz. Do you see an upset coming? Maybe Senegal squeezing one through. I had Senegal going through this initially, but at that time, Mane was kind of on the team, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I have. Seeing it the way I expected it to go, I had Senegal third in the group, so I find that this is going to be exactly what I see. What I see ending up as the 1 through 4.
So let's go to your second one. There you go. There's some American bias coming through right here now. Mateusz, we'll start with you on this one. Anything can freaking happen. Even Wales can go through in a crazy scenario over here, I think, right? They're not totally eliminated. Right?
Yes.
If they beat England, yeah, right? There's a scenario where they can go through.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And speaking
go
of
through.
scenarios, South Korea just scored 2 goals in about 2 minutes to tie up with Ghana. So that one's exciting.
It's been a crazy day. I obviously, unlike you guys, I don't wake up 4 a.m. to watch it, but it looked like that Cameroon Serbia game. I'm sure Trevor was up there with his Serbia flag because he's a huge fan. But okay, let's go back to the group. Who's coming through over there? Iran, USA. I'm assuming you guys are going to jump on the England bandwagon. But Mateusz, we'll start with you.
I in our little run your pool thing that we did, I had England, Iran, USA, Wales, and I think that's exactly how it's going to end. I think Iran and USA are going to draw, and I think England's going to beat Wales. I think it's going to end exactly like it is right now in those 1 through 4.
Really, you had Iran? I know you.
Yeah.
By the way, if you guys had that notice, Mateusz constantly keeps bringing up the pool, and you guys know why, right? Because he's at the top of the pool right now. So let's announce this. Should I put a ticker on that?
Can I just say something? Because the only reason I even looked up to see what the standings were was because someone in our Discord was so hi-ho about telling people, oh, this team was much better than we thought they were. I was trying to tell you. And I checked their pool, and they didn't even have them leaving the group stage. And so I was going to call them out on it, but then I was like, screw it. I don't have enough energy for that. This is dumb. And then that's when I saw I was first. So now I'm going to bring it up.
Hold on. I'm going to, so that, I'm going to save the audience some trouble over here. So we'll put this along the bottom so they can constantly be a reminder. And every time you say something, they're like, who the hell is this guy? And they're like, oh, he's number 1 in the World Cup pool. Trevor, who do you have going up?
It adds credibility to all his work.
Yeah, as long as they didn't watch like the first half of this show, then that's fine.
Yeah. Since my second pick of Wales is all but dead, because as much as I enjoy chaos at this stage of the game, I don't think they're going to beat England 4-0. So I'm going to just go USA and take out the Iranians and give them something actually to be angry about rather than a flag mishap.
Yeah, I can see that's going to be a good game. But the thing is, Iran could play. I know how defensive Iran is. If Iran just sits back, I think they're setting themselves up. US is a team that they probably want to keep going at instead of, because US is eventually going to get a goal in if Iran just sits back. But that's probably
who knows? Maybe at the end of the game with the game on the line, Greg Berhalter will just have his guy kick it to the corner flag rather than try to kick it in for a final goal. You know what?
Some great coaching there. Group C, the Polish Princess Poland somehow is number 1 in this group, which is kind of like shocking, to be honest. I've honestly been kind of shocked at how timid Poland plays when I watch them. I feel like they have a lot of weapons. You would think they'd be more open and attacking. But I know you've complained, Mateusz, about their defense. Is that why they're playing so timid to cover for that back line?
Yeah,
Matty Cash,
38-year-old Kamil Glik back there who can't play anymore. I don't understand how the entire country is so obsessed with the sport and they can't find 2 center backs under the age of 35. It just doesn't make sense. And so they have to play timidly because they can't take risks because they'll get exposed in the back. So they have to play quite defensively and kind of just outlet it out to Lewandowski and Zielinski and hope that they are able to do something with the ball. I'm glad that Lewandowski at least got his first World Cup goal. He seems to disappear in international tournaments, so he's sort of just putting a mark down on something that he deserves to have. I mean, he's been absolutely incredible the last 5 years altogether for both club and country. So glad to see that happen. But yeah, it's everyone's shocked to see them in first. They won't end in first, I'll tell you that. Argentina is going to beat them, and I think Mexico is going to take. I don't know what's going to happen between Mexico and Saudi Arabia, but I think it's going to end Argentina and Poland leaving out the group 1 and 2. I just don't know. I don't think Saudi Arabia beats Mexico. I think it's either a draw or a slight Mexico win is what I'm expecting.
Yeah, that's almost like the game to watch over there. But there's a scenario still, of course, if Poland and Argentina draw and Saudi Arabia wins and stuff like that, all kinds of crazy things can happen.
Argentina's out.
What do you see happening out there? I feel like Argentina will beat Poland and will go as number one. I don't know about Saudi Arabia and Mexico. Saudi Arabia has been a lot better. Like watching them, it's not like, oh, they're getting lucky and they're getting points. I thought they deserved more out of that game, to be honest with you, for like the run of play that they did not get in this last game. How about you, Trevor? I know there's no ticker for you, but
no, I don't, and I don't deserve one. So I'm not offended. I agree that it's going to be Argentina, Poland. I had Mexico coming out as a second team, but I just think it's too big of a hill for them to climb to make up that gap, because I don't think Argentina is going to just like waste Poland. I don't think it's going to be like a 3-0 game, which could kind of give Mexico a bit more of an easy inroads to make up that difference. But I think it's just going to be Argentina 1, Poland 2.
France, first team to guarantee the next round. They're kind of like cruising through this group. The rest is up for grabs. So, Trevor, who is the second team coming out of here? France plays Tunisia in the last game, correct?
Yes.
So we probably can count Tunisia out because of that. So who do you see going out? Australia or Denmark?
I'm gonna say Denmark. As much as the Aussies got their flowers against Tunisia, I just don't think Denmark, with the need to win being in play, where if it was like a draw or something, those kind of things with Denmark always gives you worries, because when they kind of let their foot off the gas, they're not always the best team. But if it's something where they have to go win, I think they will go win and beat Australia and go through.
Yeah, I agree. I think Denmark could have gotten more out of the France game too. So I do see them beating Australia and going through, but that's going to be another one of those games where Australia just sits back. So until Denmark scores, that could be a painful game to watch. Next up, Group E, Japan blows a huge opportunity by losing to Costa Rica. And Costa Rica, who I thought was the first unofficially eliminated team, is suddenly in the mix somehow. To me, Spain looks ridiculously good compared to any team I watched so far. They look by far the best, and I really thought they should have scored a lot more yesterday, and they did not. So I see Spain easily going through in this and beating Japan, and which means the Germans will find a way to beat Costa Rica. I have, in a very unusual way, the two teams that were favored to go out of here coming out with Spain number 1, Germany number 2 with 4 points. Mateusz, what do you see happen?
Same thing. I feel like that's exactly how it's going to go. Or I mean, at least I think Spain 1, Germany 2, because Germany's going to take care of Costa Rica. They understand what's at stake. As a country, they can't not get through the group. That's the sort of stuff that will stain the country's football federation. So I think they take care of it pretty easily. And then it's going to just come down to how, because Spain could just play for the draw, right? And they're just be absolutely fine. So we'll see what kind of Spain comes out. If they come out the way that they have the last 2 games, they'll be absolutely fine as well. But if they do just play for that draw, they might, Costa Rica Japan might just sneak one past them and then kind of wake them up. So there is a scenario still where, a very weird scenario. There's a chance that Japan and Germany still go through, or even Costa Rica and Japan. I was going to say we're Japan. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I think Spain and Germany will end up going 1-2.
Yeah, if Japan is going to score against Spain, they better save it towards the end. I mean, out of all the teams I watch, it's like the most fluid attacking team is probably by far Spain, even compared to France. I know we'll talk as France because Mbappe and stuff like that. But Trevor, every time you watch Spain, the ball movements and how fluid the runs and stuff is just like, it looks like a team that's like a club team that plays together all the time.
Yeah, and the way Japan's midfield looked against Costa Rica kind of just flooded it with bodies, and Japan didn't know what the fuck to do with themselves. Spain can do what Costa Rica did with 6 people with 2 or 3. And I think Japan's in trouble, and that's something where I hope they kind of score early and kind of go 2010 World Cup and just put things to bed and pass it 100 times in a row and then just pass it out of bounds because they can.
Matush in the background is.
No, the dog agreed. The dog totally agreed with my point. I think we need a ticker that the dog agreed with me. And
yeah, I'll get a ticker for that. Jan Tomaszewski, do you remember him? Alan says, sounds Polish. I do not personally. No. I'm hoping you will remember him.
Yeah, a keeper in the 70s when Poland finished 3rd in the World Cup.
Can he play
1974. He at this rate, he still can for the Polish national team if he wants to.
Yeah.
He's not old enough. He's only a young 74, so he should be coming off the bench, maybe in relief duty or something like that. Okay, another weird group. Overturned car, Belgium, really struggling over here. I can't believe Kevin De Bruyne would come out and say, yeah, we're too freaking old after the first game, which I just didn't. I thought that was just like a made-up quote. I realized yesterday that he said it for real, which is really shocking. Croatia has an impressive performance, so suddenly they're like the best team in the world. But I don't know. I think Canada reminds me a little bit of US, where they do play good soccer, but it's very reckless. So it leaves a lot of spots open and stuff like that. They're just like, let's attack. And then, like just very uncontrolled. But this group, anything can happen again for the most part. Trevor, what do you see happening?
As much as Kevin De Bruyne doesn't want to be there, I think that Belgium's probably going to get through. That they'll probably.
Well, Belgium plays Croatia,
I'm
right?
trying to see.
Yeah, Belgium plays Croatia.
Yeah, so they could get a. They would have to win.
So you having done Belgium and Morocco go?
I'm trying to talk myself out of it because it'd just be funny to see Belgium go home with their attackers and their defenders just acting like 6-year-olds to each other. Oh man, we're too old. Oh, I guess we're too old. And that's not what I said. You're just saying it snarkier. I don't know how that's any different, but nevertheless, you know what? Fuck it. Belgium's going home. Morocco and Croatia are going through. Set my bracket on fire. I don't care.
Speaking of brackets, Trevor, Matush, what do you see? You got to hold on before you even say anything. Okay, ticker is not go.
Okay, so since I had Croatia first and Morocco second in my predictions,
this is, I can't wait till next Monday now.
I'm kidding. Okay, this one I can't. I lied. I don't. I had Belgium, Croatia, as most sensible people did, because Belgium has, for the last, I don't know, what has it been, 8 years, we've talked about this golden generation for Belgian football. And for the last 8 years, we've talked about the disappointment of this golden generation of Belgian football. And then for the next 8 years, we'll look back on the disappointment of the golden generation of Belgian football. It's really upsetting because they have a lot of players that I like, and they have a lot of players that are very good. Again, I think maybe I don't want to echo off of KDB, but maybe the defense is a little old, maybe in general, because this is towards the end of this generation, this golden generation, so to speak. And so it's just been rather disappointing to see them not have it click over all these years, especially while keeping the same manager. It's one thing to change managers and then having that blow up your national team and not being able to play well together, but it's another thing to keep the same manager throughout all these years and still be disappointing. So with that being said, I don't think Belgium can beat Croatia. I think they will draw at best, which will leave Morocco to go through unless Canada beats them. Was it 3 or 4-0 at that point? Yeah. Or by at least 3 goals. And I don't think we see that happening. So I think we're going to see it, Croatia and Morocco, come out of there.
Yeah, it's interesting because they blame the defense, but I mean, let's face it, against Morocco, I mean, it's not like Morocco scored early and the game was changed or something like that. They just could not score on Morocco for like almost the entire game, and Morocco takes the lead in the 73rd. So it's not like, I don't know, it's kind of like harsh to put it on the age of the defense. It is shocking. I actually found it humorous that Eden Hazard says talk shit about Germany about how they should focus more on the game on the field after their protest, and they lost, and then they go out and lose. So that actually made me chuckle. So
Yeah.
thanks to them for that. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Serbia is dead last in this group now. After today's result, they do get a point, and they still have Switzerland to play. So they're still in play over here. Will your predictions of a Serbia as the World Cup winner in your poll, I think it was, Trevor, where do you see this
semifinal? I said semifinal.
Should I put that as a ticker?
Don't put even more egregious words than I already say in my own right into my mouth. And yes, after Brazil dispatches of Switzerland this afternoon, and Serbia beats Switzerland on the last day, they will be fine and they will go through, and they will keep that half of my bracket unblemished. Just kidding, it's all on fire. The I'm holding strong with Serbia. Watch Switzerland now come out and beat Brazil like 3-0, and then just everything is pain at that point. But I don't have that much faith in the Swiss to do something like that.
Might be a little bit more fun to watch without Neymar, though.
Yes, I know. I'll be able to root for Brazil a little bit, so that's always nice. What do you have going on in this thing in your pool? What was the teams that you had, Matush?
1 through 4, just like that: Brazil, Switzerland, Cameroon, Serbia. I think Brazil take care of Switzerland today, and then Switzerland draws with Serbia probably, and then I see Brazil beating Cameroon as well. So I think Brazil and France might be the only 2 teams to finish on 9 points throughout the entire World Cup is my guess, because no one else has a chance to, I believe.
By the way, I'm pretty proud that
if Portugal went out,
if Portugal win, today.
By the way, I'm looking at these rankings over here, and our friends, yes, as we have made it official, Matush is number 1 right now with 43 points. Trevor, you have 31, and Angie and I both have 30. I don't think we even use the same thing. Somehow I have less points, but we have over 30 out of the possible points. So I think I had this group. That's what I was trying to see. I think I had this the same way. So I'll make a ticker just for myself for Group G that I got that right so far. But I don't know if it's going to change. Switzerland plays Serbia as the last game, correct?
Yeah. They play Brazil this afternoon.
Yeah, I don't see them getting anything out of this. So Serbia is still in it. I just don't know. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to stick with Brazil, Switzerland, Cameroon, and Serbia going through. Last but not least, and Ghana has just
taken the score. It's now 3-2 in favor.
Look at that. We have like a live score update as well. We have that. We have a ticker. We got it all going this morning. So Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, South Korea. Portugal and Uruguay play later today. Who is going to go through in this group, Matush? Who do you have in your poll? The rest is just meaningless.
This one's not so great, guys. I had Uruguay and South Korea 1 and 2. I don't like Portugal, so even if I knew they were going to win their games, I didn't want to put them up as 1 and 2. I will take that bullet for my predictions. And I'm Ghana's a bit better than I expected them to be, but I mean, I guess I should know better because they seem to get in the round of 16 every time they make it to the World Cup. So they've been playing really well. So I don't. If Uruguay can get a win against Portugal, I think it sets up a really interesting last day, especially if this result holds the way it is at 3-2. If South Korea can find a way back, that'll probably better for the last day in general. Other than that, it'll just make it between just the two teams between Portugal and Uruguay in the last day to really see who's going to be able to go through. But yeah, it's I'm a little surprised by this group. I consider this group the group of death because not that ranking wise, the teams are the best, but I think they're all the closest in talent level, and kind of the most balanced of the groups. There's not one minnow and a shark and two in betweens. These are, I mean, you could consider all these teams good enough to play with some of the top teams around the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, this was like a tough group to pick. Even Mateusz has struggled with it. I mean, yeah, you probably tried to will Portugal into getting eliminated with your pick. I do see Portugal going through. I'm kind of shocked at that first game, how Uruguay played. It was just, they just could not find a way to open it up, which I thought was shocking. I don't know, two really good games coming up today. I think this is probably the best one though, Portugal, Uruguay, because they have to get something out of this game. And then they could still like win the last game and go through. I still have my initial prediction of Portugal and Uruguay going through, despite what Ghana is doing right now. How about you, Trevor? What do you got?
Yeah, I had Uruguay won, Portugal too. So I'm sitting here really hoping that this game goes the way all of us are hoping this afternoon. Because just getting Portugal out, just it's gonna make my town so much more quiet. I got enough of those Portuguese flags flying around as it is, and I won't have to worry
That's
about
right.
getting
You guys
a seat at
are,
the bar.
Gally was saying, you guys are in a huge area of like Portuguese,
Yeah,
correct?
I won't have to worry about getting a seat at the bar. It'll just be nice and clear and open. There'll be that one Uruguayan guy, and it'll be great.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, it's going to be like some really good games coming up this week. So, Mateusz, next Monday, will I be able to use this ticker, or should I delete this? What are you projecting?
I don't.
This group H is going to bury you. Looks
I
like.
don't know, because I'm already missing points because of Group H. So you can keep the ticker, man. It's going to be fine.
Okay, well, I'm still looking forward to. I'm going to save the ticker because I'm too lazy to make a new one. I'm just very proud that I made this one real quick. But we'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll talk about the rest of the two games today, see if anybody is beating each other in another game in Turkey or whatever, and then we'll go from there. I know it's Monday, but try to make the best of it and have a great week, everybody. We'll see you guys. Actually, we'll see you guys tonight with Gally and Bickler with our regular live Monday podcast. And then Trevor and I will be back tomorrow morning. So take care.